Ya'ate, mabuhay, aloha, welcome, everybody to Medicine Tribe Television, our Real Medicine segment today. What an interesting time we are in, a very important time to be discussing the dismantling of a system, the birthing of a new world that is a hard labor. Today's guest is a dear friend of mine, an activist, a musician, and a phenomenal person all around. I'm happy to share some words and thoughts with her today and hear her wisdoms. That person is Paris Jackson. So I'm going to just hop right in here because there's a lot going on today and I want to hear from her. Let's see if she's on here. Hang on. All right. PJ.
Hey,
Hey,
what's up?
what's good? Nice to see you. Thanks for taking a moment here to check in and share some thoughts and share some words.
Always.
How is your heart today?
Um, quite heavy.
Mm,
But there's, light and hope in there still.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm. How, I mean, you've been an advocate for a long time for peace and justice. Your family's been advocates for peace and justice. I mean, how how has this for you, how is it affecting your mental state, your heart, and what kind of wisdoms are you carrying today? There's been multiple things that come through daily for me, and so I'm just curious if there's any of those like isms that you can share with us on the current status.
Yeah, it's definitely been messing with my serenity. I, I'd be surprised if anyone's serenity wasn't being hardcore affected by everything that's going on. Something that really makes my heart heavy, which I've spoken about the last few days, is
Mm-hmm,
the violence and the looting. And
mm-hmm,
I've gotten a lot of backlash the last few days over um, my lack of, I guess, violence, my approach of
mm-hmm,
peace, and me not condoning the looting. Um, and everyone, I feel like everyone is entitled to their emotions, and everyone's emotions and feelings and opinions are valid.
mm-hmm,
Not always correct, but valid, and people have a right to be angry. I'm angry. I personally don't get anything out of being violent, and I definitely don't get anything out of causing harm. Um, and it is heartbreaking to see such a horrible reaction to the
mm-hmm,
message of peace.
mm-hmm.
Uh,
Yeah, knowing how important Lenin's message is and was, and knowing how important those icons of the 60s, etc., are for you, what can we take from those messages and apply it to what we're currently facing?
um, the just the mentality and the just love. It's so redundant and cliche at this point, but love is everything, and it's always
Mm-hmm,
what fails, and it's always what gets us anywhere is love and peace. And it's really frustrating to see opportunists taking advantage of what's happening right now, and it's making the rest of us look really bad. These
mm-hmm,
looters and these people that
mm-hmm,
are destroying small businesses and mama and papa shops and just taking advantage of this, and it's really heartbreaking because it's making us all look bad.
Yeah, and I mean, with all that aggression, I mean, like you're looking at, right, like this, whatever, 3 months it seems it's been now since we've all been sort of stuck at home, and there's a almost like a you're shaking up the bottle, and it's, you pop the lid now that there's clear, almost like 2 weeks of very clear, oppressive, um, and violent experiences that Black folks have had to undergo in a very public way now. And so, with that, I'm sure you've witnessed, and I've witnessed this as well. There's multiple groups always with multiple agendas that want to shift the narrative or create chaos in a space where we're trying to express peacefully an opinion and our right to do that. So, in your opinion, what is the message to those folks who are out there expressing their rage, but in a way that, as you're saying, and I agree with you, is counterproductive?
I mean, I don't really know what to say to them because
Yeah.
they're pretty unreceptive to it, and that's their path and that's their journey.
Right.
And we can only hope that they see the light and they see the love. It also is frustrating. We do have to mention the importance of recognizing that a lot of these riots are also started by the police.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
A lot of this is started by the police. A lot of protests just in the last couple days, people are kneeling down peacefully, and they just get attacked with tear gas and mace and rubber bullets, and they're manhandled and rounded up and thrown in paddy wagons. And it's, it is really frustrating, and I can definitely I can do my best to empathize and see, yes, it is frustrating because these people are being peaceful, and yet they're still getting attacked with all of these things. And so a lot of people's, I guess, thoughts on it, which is what I've heard, is, well, we're going to get attacked with mace and tear gas anyway, so we might as well fuck shit up. Right. And like, I understand that, but it's counterproductive in my opinion.
Are you frustrated with this generation where we know how much rage is bottled up within us, and we know how every generation seems to slowly change things, but with the current crisis at hand on multiple different levels, wherein we see them kneeling with us, and speaking to the police, kneeling with us, and then the media gets their photos, they get their video op, they get this moment of like collaboration, and then once the cameras go away, or minutes or moments afterwards, as we've seen in multiple cities in the last few days, the tear gassing begins. Somebody throws a water bottle, and so it's, there's a show happening, right? With that rage, I just wonder, what, in your mind, what options do we have as far as being able to express emotion in a public way towards the play that we're witnessing and that we're a part of?
You're talking about reform, like the steps to take?
Yeah.
Well, the biggest thing, and this is with any kind of movement and any kind of activist work, I feel, is spreading awareness is the first step to anything. And I know you know this because we did the whole oil pipeline thing. Mm-hmm. And we both worked closely with Auntie Lydia with that. And that, as well as like the work that I do in the Melange district with AIDS. And the first step with anything is spreading awareness and also breaking the stigma. And regardless, it doesn't matter what the movement itself is, it's the first step to getting anywhere with it is spreading awareness and getting that message out. And then from there, you can take further steps, like the protest aspect, the politics aspect. it's really great to see a lot of people with platforms starting to speak up. That's the biggest thing with, like I said, any activist movement. The bigger your platform, the more outreach, the more progress that we can make spreading the message. So yeah, encouraging people to spread the love, you know.
Educate. I mean, and on that reform topic, as I've just been thinking today, like what I wanted to ask you, if the example the police are setting, that is that they don't have to adhere to the law, and that we have, you know, a very specific, you know, not so leadership, if you will, whatever you want to say it is, from the top down. Why should we adhere to it if the authoritative space within this society is not adhering to that as well? This is a question I'm asking myself.
Yeah. Why should we listen?
Well, why should we adhere by these rules if they aren't adhering by them either?
That is a great question. I don't know how to answer that, because
it's difficult.
by not listening and by not, abiding by a lot of laws and stuff like that, it will turn into anarchy. I mean, at the extremist, like the extreme end, it would turn into anarchy, which, I mean, anyone that's taken history classes know that usually doesn't work.
Right.
But yeah, that's a good question. That really is a good question. I don't know.
It's such a thing to think about, when we consider, as we were mentioning before, just how the looting and the violent part of it doesn't seem to be proactive. However, there is this part of it that is reminiscent, I suppose, in history, where the infrastructure of these corporations that represent the control of the environment. There's a whole like pie chart, I guess you could say, of like these corporations that have systematically built capitalism in a way that oppresses people, and therefore pushes people in a way that that many of us don't find it attractive at all, to be considering ourselves citizens of this agreement that we supposedly have signed to be a part of this society. So I'm just curious. This common thing of thinking about that. I think that's something that everybody who's listening today should also ponder on, as far as the question of why should we adhere to these terms if what we are witnessing and continue to witness in these authoritative figures, they do not adhere to them at all. Woo! What would your advice be to white folks that are listening today who want to be good allies? How can we use privilege to better our world?
Like I said,
for folks that don't have like platforms and stuff, I guess is what I'm talking about.
Right. Just spread awareness, do your part, protest if you can, donate if you can. There's also ways to donate if you don't have money, and just stand in solidarity. And it is extremely important for white people to do this, as well as other minorities. We all need to stand together and create change. There's no one person or one group can do it on their own. We all have to, band together.
Are there specific organizations that you could name today that people could check in on?
Yeah, I mean, I'll be posting a few of them.
Okay.
I don't know, I guess not to get too political, but Obama has put some resources out for people.
Oh, cool.
To check out. I didn't want to mention that just because some
Hey,
people like it, some people don't. That's
life is
like
political, is
left
it
and
not?
right
Yeah,
to it, but there's some great resources up on his website.
that's good to know.
Yeah.
That's good to know. And I know I just wanted to put this in here because I'm a fan of your music. Uh, is there, and I know that your beliefs, ideals, and wisdoms are shared within that music. Um, where can we listen to it? What is it called for anybody else that doesn't know what it is?
Um,
And share it in that way.
yes, the my band is the Sunflowers. I can't say the exact date of our release yet because it's not set in stone, but it's looking like it's going to be this month. So it'll be on Spotify and everything.
Heck yeah. Heck
Yeah.
yeah. Um, hmm. Well, I appreciate you taking the time to say a few words and share some of your thoughts. There's so
Thank you.
many things to say. There's so many things that we feel right now, and I just, I wanted to encourage the conversation this week, and encourage other people to create dialogue in a time where it's difficult to understand how we can navigate through this very difficult time. And I appreciate your leadership in your area of expertise and your thoughts and your space of sharing today. So um, yeah, be safe out there, and I love you so much. And we'll
I love
check
you.
in with you again soon.
All right. Thank you.
Hmm.
Bye bye.
Well, that was Paris Jackson. Thank you guys so much for tuning in today. There's a lot to be said, of course. And I think getting to hear from her is very special and very thoughtful of her to take the moment and share with all of us what her thoughts are. Again, you know, as a person who has always been vocal about these kinds of things. Um, and to continue those thoughts in this moment, to remember that there are multiple organizations that you can look into and check out. I'm going to name some right now. There's the George Floyd Memorial Fund. I'll reshare this. You can find this on multiple people's sites today. The George Floyd Memorial Fund, the Minnesota Freedom Fund, which is a community-based nonprofit that pays criminal bail and immigration bonds for individuals who have been arrested while protesting police brutality. There's the Black Visions Collective. It's a Black, trans, and queer-led organization that is committed to dismantling systems of oppression and violence and shifting the public narrative to create transformative long-term change. By the way, happy Pride. Reclaim the Block, coalition that advocates for and invests in community-led safety initiatives in Minneapolis neighborhoods. Campaign Zero, an online platform and organization that utilizes research-based policy solutions to end police brutality in America. And of course, we also have Unicorn Riot, who I've been watching a lot of their stuff lately, nonprofit organization that's dedicated to exposing root causes of dynamic social and environmental issues. Now, that's also an umbrella here that I want to remind everyone of today, is that climate change is the crossroads of everything that we are facing. When we're talking about these systems of oppression, there we have to fundamentally consider and fundamentally want to, well, we have to move into that space of wanting to fundamentally change how we view authority. And that authority should not be trained as warriors. Rather, the idea of policing is meant to be guardianships. We need to have our guardians protecting the neighborhoods that they live in. These guardians should not be considering themselves as protectors and warriors in the way that they're being trained. And as we know, in these particularly difficult times, where Black and brown people are disproportionately affected by COVID-19, the bottled up pressure of folks losing their jobs, having their what is this word? Having the space where, you know, the essential workers, the minorities, the minority groups, and the marginalized groups being attacked and violence projected upon them is grounds for violence. Point blank. I mean, having just been listening to NPR today and hearing the White House press secretary speaking on, you know, wanting to crack down on the expression of frustration that our people, all of our peoples, are having against the fact that it took fucking days for those police officers to be arrested, and only one of them is supposedly going to get charged with third degree. The other ones have not been charged or anything like this. Now, the reason is that if you listen to folks like Sean King or Killer Mike, you know, the reasons behind these is because it is almost impossible to prosecute a police officer in this country. Those kinds of protections against authoritative figures is unacceptable. It's a systematic issue. It's a problem within the system, and yeah, period. So we have to fundamentally change how we police, how we view police, and how we train police in this country, and dismantling the power structure that trains them, and therefore, you know, if we want to uphold any kind of societal contract that we have when we're born into this country, or when we are born into this world, or we're brought, or where we choose to live, or where we immigrate to, or wherever place that you are in, we, in my understanding, if we are to have a vested interest in maintaining the status quo or maintaining peace within our cities, within our communities, then we demand that that contract is upheld by our people in authority and people in power. And so dismantling this system is going to take a painfully long time, as we have seen in the centuries and centuries of oppressive regimes that have tried to, and have effectively enslaved us and held us in a space of lesser being. So my question I want to leave you all with today, on top of actually some information, I recommend everybody go and listen to some YouTube videos of Jane Elliott. I was just watching some of her videos, and she is a gem. She is teaching people about racism, and it's very inspiring. Jane Elliott, check her out. So what I want to leave you with is this question. If the example, our leadership is providing as the status, if that is the example they're setting for us, which is that they do not have to adhere to any law, then why should we? Why should we be peaceful? Why should we adhere to the law that does not protect us, the law that does not give us any reason not to want to burn down buildings or not to want to create more chaos with chaos? This is not the way, but there is a way, and it's not this way. So think about that. And then on a final note, I know that today was supposed to be hashtag Blackout Tuesday. And I do believe that the women that began that within the music industry, the Black women that began this trend, had good intentions. And clearly it got out of hand because, as I hopefully all of you have become aware of this now, that the Black Lives Matter hashtag got used almost predominantly once this trend began, and therefore blocked out the hashtag to the point where people who need critical information and go to that hashtag are missing the information that they need. So I'm going to repeat this for people who missed out on this or have not heard this, but you need to delete your black square if you hashtag Black Lives Matter on it. You need to re-upload it so you can be in solidarity with the music industry, even though in some perspectives this is counterproductive, and parts of myself agree with this, because there are so many ways to show solidarity. The reason you need to delete it and re-upload it is because the hashtag remains there. And if you go to Black Lives Matter hashtag, you'll see the countless fucking black squares that are causing the flow of information to be blocked. And so it's counterproductive. So I recommend you doing that. If you have uploaded that black square, take it. If you have hashtag Black Lives Matter on it, take it down, re-upload it, do us a favor. And I'll see you in the streets. Much love. Take care. And do the right thing.